It is believed that Neanderthals were ancient species and lived between 130,000 and 40,000 years ago. There's this general perception about them that they were quite dumb and naive. But lately, researchers have found that they were actually more able and smarter than we believed. In reality, they were highly skilled hunters with some exceptional abilities. And in this video, we're going to look into that. But how do we know that they really existed and even used multiple hunting techniques to catch their prey? It's those bones and scratches found on some archaeological sites, leading to some fascinating facts about the animals of the world before humans. There were some species that existed in Le Bordelais, France, named aurochs. They are extinct now, but they were a part of regular hunts by Neanderthals. This is so interesting that those sly Neanderthals used to guide aurochs' herd to trap them naturally. This shows how advanced they were in understanding that herd's behavior. They knew how to approach the herd from certain angles that could cause the animals in the center to panic, and they started to move more rapidly. Once they were trapped in, Neanderthals examined them and selectively hunted their favorite prey. They didn't kill all of them, but the females and children, as they oversaw their ease of handling and good quality meat. Another important site is Morin, also in France, where remains of over 130 bison were discovered. Here, Neanderthals made use of the local topography to drive bison towards large limestone cliffs with marshy grounds at its base. This was an effective technique to catch the prey. Interestingly, at Morin, Neanderthals were selective in their hunting practices. They didn't eat every part of each animal. Instead, they chose the viable portions. This shows how selective they were in their consumption. Some remarkable pieces of evidence from Tauerbach in Germany show that Neanderthals hunted rhinoceroses. This site has some warm springs that attracted these large animals. Neanderthals would hide themselves and wait for the perfect moment. They usually targeted little rhinoceroses. They used to plan strategically before hunting, as it would be hard to attack rhinoceroses in groups, so they used to follow a critical strategy. All these researchers show that Neanderthals were skilled hunters with a deep understanding of animal behavior, techniques to trap, and land utilization. Their critical approach breaks the stereotypes associated with them. Imagine this. There were some Neanderthals hidden in the spots waiting for their targets for hours, and others were working to herd huge groups of animals towards them. When they get the right moment, they spring into action collectively. One wrong move can lead them all to death, but they were geniuses in doing these calculated moves. This technique is known as close-range hunting technique. Here's the thing to note. They were not like lions or wolves, so they were unable to outrun their prey. They just had to outsmart them. For this, serious planning and teamwork were required. They had a strong bond. They coordinated during the whole process without even being able to hear or see each other. They had to maintain trust in their hunting partners, which required some major brain power, and this shows that they were not as dumb as we know about them. This is something more than just getting food for them. These hunting techniques were like social activities for them, in which men, women, and kids, everyone had to participate and had a specific task to do. And when they brought down a bunch of big animals, there were party scenes. As they got way more meals than that's enough for a small group, they also invited their other fellows too to enjoy the feast. The purpose of hunting was more than just food for them. They considered it a part of their life. They even taught their children to hunt and had special rituals for hunting too. Neanderthals used to live with unity and collaborated with each for big hunts. They also kept themselves engaged in piercing different and better tools. It gives us an idea very well that they weren't simple cavemen. They were always busy improving their lives, like every human in today's era. Close-range hunting needed a lot of physical strength and practice. Neanderthals were strong enough to have close combat with big animals. Sometimes they had to endure the counterattacks from their struggling prey. This hunting method was very dangerous. While tackling these animals closely, they often got injuries. Evidence from Neanderthal remains shows healed fractures and other injuries. That shows that close encounters with prey often resulted in harm. Despite the risks, close-range hunting was effective because it provided a lot of food in comparison to the energy utilized. Besides this, it also provided fur, bones, and sinew for various uses. When we are talking about hunting techniques, how can we forget the use of tools that are a necessary part of hunting? The hunting techniques of the Neanderthals were a kind of complex activity that required the effective use of tools along with physical strength and proper strategy. Ingenuity and adaptability were the amazing qualities of the Neanderthals. They used different kinds of weapons and tools for hunting and their daily activities. Their tool-making skills were advanced for their time, and these tools were not only important for hunting, but also for their survival. Here, we'll have a look at the types of weapons used by Neanderthals. Early Neanderthal spears were simple wooden sticks sharpened at one end, using the techniques of carving or fire hardening. Those sharpened wooden sticks were used for thrusting. They also had some advanced spears like stone tips, typically made of flint. These were fixed to wooden shafts with the help of natural adhesives like tree resin, and sometimes fixed with strips of leather or sinew. The spears were basically used for large prey like mammoths, bison, or deer. The weight and balance of these spears showed they could not be used for throwing over long distances. Hand axes were another important tool used by them. They were usually bifacial and designed for a comfortable grip. Various types of stones were used to make them. These axes were not just weapons, but also served as multi-purpose tools. Those axes were not primarily used for close combat. They were used for butchering animals, woodworking, and other daily tasks. A small tool with a sharp edge on one side, known as scrapers, made from flint or other stones. They were used to process the animal hides and meat. They could also serve as cutting or carving tools in various situations. Neanderthals used sharp flint to make their knives, and those knives often needed to be retouched to keep a sharp edge. They used to make knives in multiple shapes and sizes for multiple tasks. These knives were not basically used for hunting. After hunting animals, these knives were used for skinning and butchering animals. They were also used to cut plant material, and possibly even as a defensive weapon against animals if needed. They also used delicate points and blades. They were different from typical hand axes. Those tools were used for cutting and piercing. They were simply standalone tools or sometimes came with handles to perform complicated tasks. There are some signs that Neanderthals might have used bolas, throwing weapons, made of weights of interconnected cords for hunting small game or birds. Although there is not much direct evidence, bolas could be used to untangle the legs of animals. This helped to easily approach and kill the animals or birds. It's important to consider that although we have a good understanding of Neanderthals' tools, how they actually use them and specifics can sometimes be not very accurate, as direct observational data is not available. But this is clear from the sophistication of these tools. They were the people with cognitive ability and manual dexterity that enabled them to survive in harsh environments for thousands of years. The hunting techniques and tools of Neanderthals clearly show their bravery and intelligence. Engaging in close-range hunting of large, dangerous prey required not only physical strength and courage, but also strategic planning and a deep understanding of animal behavior. Their abilities are much more extraordinary than ours now. We are just hiding in our houses, not roaming around the jungle hunting for food. Neanderthals were like engineers of their time, manufacturing those stone-tipped spears and hand axes on their own. This clearly shows that they were really brave and intelligent species. Maybe someday we'll find even more amazing and strong pieces of evidence about Neanderthals' hunting techniques. Science is always advancing and discovering more and more about our past. It will be interesting to think about what we might learn next. That's all I've got for today on Neanderthals hunting. I hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to hit that sub button for more engaging content like this.